We're going to call the meeting to order. Bill, are there any citizens to be heard?
No, Mayor, they're not.
Okay. Without objection, we will dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. There being no objection and no citizens to be heard, are there any comments from council? Without objection, we'll dispense with the comments from council. There being no objection, it brings us to item 5.1, discussion action, consider a proposed tax rate for fiscal year 2017-2018 and taking a record vote. Do I have a motion concerning a proposed tax rate for 2017-2018?
I propose that the tax rate remain as it is this year.
Okay.
That's .287742.
Okay, so we have a motion to propose a tax rate of 0.287742 per $100 valuation, which is an M&A rate of 27.487 and an S rate of .012872. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Mike Colomere has seconded the motion. We're now open for discussion. Is there any discussion? Mike?
I understand why we're doing this, but I think it's way too early in the program to set a tax rate or take this vote. We don't have a budget. We don't know what we need to fund. So how can we set a tax rate? We're supposed to come up with a budget, figure out what our other income is, and then tax the citizens based on any shortfall. So I think it's way too early to do this.
Okay. Bill, do you have any questions or comments on that? As far as the timing of the vote?
As I understand it, we're required, council's required to take a record vote on establishing a maximum tax rate, basically.
By a certain deadline
Yeah, so
per the calendar.
if that maximum tax rate is above the effective of the rollback rates, then that triggers in public hearings, which then have to be then considered. So I do know that I've not synced this. I mean, I had a heads up on this, but I do know that there is a city manager proposed budget with estimated revenues and expenses associated with that. In the city manager's budget, there's a proposed tax rate which remains the same as last year at .287742. So from my standpoint, if that was a maximum rate that was going to be considered, we were going to consider lowering it, then it would seem like a pretty non-eventful action to take a record vote, which is then published, right? This is published.
Not this record vote is not published. This is the vote for a proposed tax rate for the process to be put in the paper, the hearings to be held if needed. The record vote that's official is at the end. That's when they adopt a tax rate. This is just proposing
But it's still going
a
to be
tax
published as this tax rate
rate. The tax rate, yes.
that we pass.
But it
Yes.
doesn't show who voted. That's not what is included. It's just.
And it's setting a ceiling as opposed to setting the final rate, which may be less or may be the same, but can't be more.
Correct.
So attachment 2 came from the Bear County
And may I ask another question?
assessor collector, right?
My understanding is if we do not take a vote tonight, it will automatically be set at the current rate of .28772, and we'll move forward with that, whether we vote on it or not, and that will be the ceiling.
I'm not sure. I just know this attachment 2 was provided to us, and we must publish something in the paper establishing
You have to
a
do a record
proposed
vote
rate.
on a proposed rate at some point. I mean, if we do it next week, then that pushes the calendar. Again, if we're not over the effective and rollback, those hearings we don't have to have, it's not, it kind of changes it. So we have a little bit of wiggle room if we're not going over the rollback or effective rate. If we were to propose, so the tax office started sending out letters Monday or emails asking people, what is your, for the publications, because it has to go in the paper.
Okay,
Go in the paper. Right now, the schedule is for Wednesday, the 16th.
okay. Does anybody have any other discussion?
But in other words, not
Mary Ann?
taking a vote, as Alderman Ross is saying, is that, I mean, if we don't take the vote, it stays the same that you're proposing by law.
I'm not aware of that.
It says here on the bottom, council is not required to adopt the proposed rate, but whatever rate that the record vote is taken on, that rate cannot be exceeded. That's all it says, but I was under the assumption somehow that if we did not vote on it, it would be that, the 0.28. So you're saying that's not true?
Well, one of the things that will happen after a vote, if it is approved, is that we will be guaranteeing that we cannot raise the rate.
Right.
That it will be creating a ceiling, and that if we do not vote tonight, or we voted down tonight, that we could come back within the budget calendar time constraints and adopt a higher rate. And I think that what the vote to this evening will do is say the rate cannot be greater than the current rate.
Right.
If we vote against it, then we're voting for the possibility that we could later adopt a higher rate. Is there any other discussion?
Somebody has to propose a rate.
I did.
It
Okay.
did, yes.
And it's been seconded.
And if it doesn't pass, we'll need to call we'd have to find out what we have to do. We probably have to have another meeting again.
Yes, to talk about rates again, within our budget calendar
Don't know
timeline.
that-
Mike?
I was just pointing out that Ms. Fagan's looked like she wanted to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd have to check that if it's just, I don't know that it just automatically rolls over, because the budget does, there's some things at the end of the year, if budget hasn't been passed, that automatically roll over, but that's at September 30th. So this is something different.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further comments, Mike Colomer, I'm going to call for your vote. Aye. Mary Ann?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Mike?
Nay.
The vote passes actually, this is a special council meeting, and we have 4 votes. We don't have to have 4 votes to approve, we have to have 4 voters. Okay, the motion carries 3 votes to 1. Item 5.2, Bill, I believe item 5.2 is on here only to schedule additional hearings for if we had adopted a higher rate, is that correct?
If you adopted,
No, that's this is the next one's a budget. The budget hearings, not tax hearings. This next item is budget hearings.
Oh, okay, this,
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought this was
First
our
item would have been
tax-
for tax hearings if you'd exceeded, but you didn't, so that's not even,
oh, and schedule, I'm sorry. Okay, 5.2, discussion action, schedule budget hearings on proposed budget fiscal year 2017, 2018. Bill, what dates are you suggesting?
this is the budget we're talking about. This is 11th and the 18th, so we've already talked about the 11th and 18th. We're required to do 1 budget hearing. Again, had we gone above the effective or the rollback rate, we would have had to schedule 2 public hearings for the tax rate. But we did not meet that requirement. We're lower than that, so that requirement is not needed. We're still required to have a budget public hearing. We traditionally have had 2. We've done 1 at the first reading and 1 at the second reading. So we're proposing that we maintain our tradition of having 2 public hearings to allow citizens to speak, 1 at the first reading on the 11th of September and 1 at the second reading on the 18th of September.
Okay. Do we have a motion to proposed scheduled hearings for our proposed fiscal 2017, 2018 budget?
I would move that we schedule public hearings on our budget on September the 11th and September the 18th.
Okay, before we do that, I'd like for everybody to check their calendars because only one of those could be scheduled as a regular meeting. and we couldn't meet if we don't have 4 members here. Would everybody check their calendars, please?
I will be out of town on both dates.
Okay.
The 18th has been moved from a regular, to a regularly scheduled meeting, just so you're tracking that from, it was scheduled the 15th in the last meeting. You've moved it to the 18th, so that will be a regularly scheduled meeting. Yeah.
Okay, what is, Laura, what is the window of time for us to have our record, or to have these meetings? On the first one, on the 11th, what is the?
Those meetings were already, we passed that in a calendar already. Those are just
Well, we're scheduling them formally right now.
the hearings.
Yes.
But we'd already scheduled to have those meetings, budget meetings on the 11th and 18th. 18th is
Okay.
the meeting we adopt. We
Did we
proposed,
discuss with you, Michelle, the availability?
I don't know, but
Okay. I need a second, though, for Mike's motion. Mary Ann is second in motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Yes,
An
Mike, sorry.
Alternative can be at our August stated meeting, our regular meeting, set 2 meetings for September as regular meetings. That is an option, and Olmos Park did that when they were down to just 3 city council members during the budget rotation. So there is an option to set 2 regular meetings for September.
do our
Okay.
ordinances allow that?
I think our ordinances are silent as far as having more than 1 regular meeting. But council would need to set it as a regular meeting.
maybe I'm missing, I thought we did the 18th to a regular meeting.
We did.
We
The
did?
18th is a
Okay.
regular meeting. We're talking
Okay.
about the 11th.
Okay.
Laura, if you would clarify for me, what is the earliest and what is the latest that the window closes on the first public hearing?
That's not state regulated, that's a tax. This is just your budget hearings. You have
Okay.
to have a budget hearing by state, before you adopt your budget. So your budget's being adopted on the 18th.
Okay?
So I think what we're saying is that we've tentatively scheduled the 11th and the 18th, but we have some latitude if we wanted to move it to, say, the 12th and the 19th, or something
the
of that nature.
7th.
We would have to take
Or
an
the-
action in August to do that.
Or the
But I'm not
7th.
sure, Alderman Heisel, you said you were not going to be there, but what is your period of time that,
No, I think my period of time ended today. I'm back from holidays, so I'm,
Okay.
who is not going to be there?
Michelle's not going to be here on the
I
11th.
misunderstood, okay.
When are you leaving?
I do this every year. It just happens to fall on, I leave on the 9th and don't return until the 23rd.
Okay, so the 7th would be an available date, or the 6th, or the
But as long
7th?
as you have
Yeah,
Bob
but I
Heisinger.
don't have Bob here to be able to say for sure that I have Bob here.
Well, do you want to postpone this item until Bob gets here?
Um,
Oh, no, because we're going into a workshop.
We're going into a workshop.
We could.
You can recess and then go to the workshop. and come
Okay,
back to it.
without objection, I'm going to recess the meeting at 6:19 to reconvene the regular meeting, or the special meeting, when Bob Hanselman returns. Without objection, we are adjourned. It's 6:55, and we're going to return from our recess to return to item 5.2, discussion action, schedule public hearing on proposed budget fiscal year 2017, 2018. Bob, so glad that, I know that you were delayed by taking care of somebody in a life-threatening situation. Thank you for your service in that area, but thank you for coming and joining us here. We're looking at having a council meeting on September the 11th for a public hearing on the proposed budget. And we wanted to check your calendar. Michelle is unavailable on that date, and we would either need to schedule 2 regular council meetings in September, or we could move this date to a different date than the 11th. based on your availability.
I have it on my calendar already as though I'm going to be here, so I'll leave it, at this point, yeah.
Okay, then we have 4 council members who will be here for both meetings. Mike has made a motion to schedule for September the 11th and September the 18th. The 18th is our regular council meeting. Mary Ann has seconded the motion. Is there any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries, which brings us to item 6, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Bob Heinzelman has made a motion to adjourn. Mike Colomere has seconded the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. We are adjourned.